So let's talk about some examples of frame advantage. So I've described what frame advantage is from a conceptual level. What are some frame advantage situations? What are the situations that actually put someone at a frame advantage? Well, one of the most common ones is if you block the opponent's jump in. If you block the opponent's jump in, what usually happens is your character lands and you put the opponent into something known as a block stun. Again, block stun, hit stun, I'm going to be using these terms a lot. I will be explaining those in a lot more detail in a future episode. Actually, maybe I can even explain it right now. I'll explain block stun for you guys. I'm calling an audible here. I'm going to explain block stun for you guys right now and hit stun just so you understand. Block stun and hit stun occurs in almost every fighting game. And in fact, if they're designed correctly, they will have block stun and hit stun. The reason why we call this a block stun and hit stun is because whenever you attack an opponent, they have the option to defend it, aka block it, or if they get hit by it, they get hit. Thus, you have a block and a hit situation. Whenever you block a move and you block an attack, you'll notice, and I'll show you visual examples of this, you'll notice your opponent or your character, whenever you block an attack, goes into a defensive stance, and after they block, your character is frozen and stuck for a short amount of time. You block an attack, and you're stuck here before you can move again. That amount of time you are stuck in the defensive position and you cannot move, that is known as block stun. You cannot get out of this position. Now, different games will obviously give you options that maybe can defeat block stun, but for the most part, while you are blocking, your options have been reduced to almost nothing. You are forced to be stuck in a defensive stance. So, on the alternate side of things, hit stun, probably pretty obvious what it is. When you get hit by an attack, your character usually goes, psh, and then they snap back into a position where they're ready to fight again. And sometimes it can be as quick as, you know, getting hit by a heavy attack and the guy going, and then they're back to fighting again. Or it can be something you get hit by a light attack and your character goes, and then they're back to normal again. This is known as the hit stun. The amount of time that you are stuck in the reeling animation of getting hit before you snap back to being able to fight again, that is what is hit stun. Again, I talked about neutral state, so let's use this term because it's a very important term. Block stun is the amount of time you're stuck in block until you return to neutral state. Hit stun is the time you're stuck in a reeling animation until you return to neutral state. So that's hit stun and block stun. If you block an opponent's jump attack, you are usually put into a pretty long block stun time frame. You're stuck in block stun for quite a few frames, and your opponent lands. And when they land, they're free to move. They can do whatever they want. So you're stuck in block stun, the opponent lands from their jump attack, and they're free to move. They have frame advantage. Now they have the ability to apply a mix-up on you. Another example of this is blocking a move that is plus on block. Again, we will talk about frame data coming up in a future episode, but the concept of being plus on block is that there are some moves that are just so fast that when they hit you, they go attack and then they're done. They go attack and then they're done. Attack and they're done. But your character gets put into a block stun and you're stuck in a block stun for just a little bit of time, but they recovered before you did. And if they do, they have frame advantage. So that's another frame advantage situation. If you get kicked to the floor and you're lying on the ground, this is like the worst kind of stun. You can call this ground stun instead of hit stun or block stun. Ground stun is not an official term. Nobody uses this term, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea that it can be related, because instead of being stuck in block stun or a hit stun, you are stuck now on the ground. You get knocked down. In almost every fighting game, there's a state in which you can get knocked down and your character's lying on the floor and they gotta get up. Well, when you're lying on the floor and you gotta get up, there's very little you can do, and the opponent's just sitting there on top of you looking at you, and they have the opportunity to set up whatever the heck they want. So they have frame advantage in that situation. Getting locked down by an opponent's assist. This is kind of important as well because a lot of games that we're playing are starting to move to the realm of having assists. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battles, Dragon Ball Fighters, the Marvel Versus games. These are all games that you play where you have assist characters. The assist character can come in while your character is in neutral state, and they do an attack, and if the opponent blocks that assist attack, your character's free to jump around all willy-nilly and do whatever the heck they want while the opponent is being locked down by the assist. And so that gives you frame advantage as well. Now I'm going to get into some kind of interesting, almost virtual frame advantage situations, getting stuck whiffing an attack. So if I sit here and throw out a move that's very slow because I'm trying to hit you with a button and I go, boom! And then I'm finally back, boom, and I miss my opponent. After I miss my opponent is in neutral state, so he can walk around and do whatever I want. I'm just stuck in delay. So this is not even hit stun, block stun, ground stun, whatever. I'm just in delay of my move. My move has to finish animating before I can actually do anything. So I am stuck in the middle of a whiff animation, and so now my opponent has frame advantage. And finally, the last one is kind of probably the most conceptual, is just getting caught off guard. A lot of the times when we're playing fighting games, and again, I've always said this, fighting games are a two-player game. Fighting games are a two-player game. Last week, the example I gave with Link versus Ball and Chain Guy was very easy. You knew exactly when the Ball and Chain Guy was going to swing his attack because he did it at a regular rate. He would go choo 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 choo. It was like at a common pace so that you always know when it was going to come. However, in fighting games, because you're fighting against another human being, you can't predict on you can't count on a constant timing. You can't count on AI to take advantage of, so your opponent can do whatever you want. So while you're standing there getting ready to dodge an attack that your opponent does, and instead the opponent dashes forward at you, they're stuck in dashing and you're not. So technically you have frame advantage. Your brain didn't react fast enough, so by the time you realize your opponent has dashed forward and landed at you and they've attacked, you're at a frame disadvantage. Your reaction puts you at that frame disadvantage. Now, if you were expecting the dash and they dash forward, you can punish the dash and take advantage of the actual literal frame disadvantage that the opponent has. But if you're not ready for it and they catch you off guard, they can actually just put themselves at a frame advantage that you are not ready for. So those are some examples of frame advantage. And so we're actually going to go to some visual examples here. And again, I'm going to be using Street Fighter here, largely because Street Fighter also has a very nice frame display that doesn't exist in a lot of other fighting games. And so we'll be able to show the numbers a little bit, and that actually makes things a little bit more clear. And we're going to look at some of these examples of frame advantage. So first of all, I'm going to put Mika on guard all. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to record Mika to jump after she defends something, like so. So now if I get our Mika to block an attack, she's going to jump immediately afterwards. The reason why I'm setting this up is because now you'll know when Mika reaches neutral state. The instant she jumps is the time that she reaches neutral state. So if I hit her with a light punch, you see that she reaches neutral state and jumps right away. If I hit her with, for example, a standing heavy punch, do you see how long it takes before she can actually jump? She gets stuck in a block stun for a little bit, and then she can jump. In comparison to the light punch, button, jump, button, jump. Whereas light is button, jump, button, jump. So you can see that there's a distinct difference in terms of the length of block stun between the different attacks. The reason in particular that it's bad if you block a jump attack, in particular jump attacks, is that when you block it, I land right away and I am free to move. And the opponent is stuck in block stun. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to perform a jumping heavy kick, and then I'm going to hold straight up on the controller. And watch how much sooner Ryu will jump than Armika will. You can see that I've almost already reached the height of my jump before Armika can even start jumping. This is the amount of advantage that Ryu has in this situation. So after you block this, the amount of time going up into the air, and again, it's less than a second long, it's super fast, but in terms of fighting games, this is a lifetime. In terms of fighting games, this is a lifetime because everything that you do is so quick that amount of time you can do so many things to your opponent. You have so many options now to mix your opponent up with. So for example, if I have her stand here and not jump afterwards, after they block my jump attack, I can go for a throw. I can jump attack and then go for a low attack so that you have to block low. I can jump attack, jump again because you're trying to attack me back and then I make you whiff a button. I can do all sorts of things. I could jump attack and backdash. I can do whatever I want. I have the ability to choose between all these options while the opponent is stuck. I can jump attack and then just attack normal like this to keep pressure going. I can jump attack and do a sequence that leads to chip damage. I can do all sorts of things while you are stuck blocking my jump attack. A lot of people don't realize this, and if you've watched me play Street Fighter on stream before, one of the reasons why I'm so hard on myself when I don't anti-air someone, anti-air being stopping someone from jumping at you, the reason why I get so mad about that, because it's one of the absolute worst frame advantage situations you can be in. Having your opponent block your jump attack is so advantageous for the jumper that it makes that much of a difference. You just don't want to be in that situation. Again, different games will be different because Tekken, for example, jump attacks aren't really a thing unless it's Geese and Akuma. But for the most part, you know, there aren't really jump attacks in that game. You know, again, all of this stuff is going to change based off of the fighting game. But another example of this is a move that is plus on block. Now, what I want you to look at right now is at the top of the screen up here, you'll see that Street Fighter V has this option here in the basic settings. They have attack data and they have frame advantage in color. This is something that's very important, and I do recommend you guys using this if you guys are new to fighting games. Turn this on. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus has something very similar. They have a frame advantage in color feature as well. Take advantage of these things. I'm going to keep this off for now because I just kind of want to focus on the attack data up at the top first. So you see right above Ryu's head says frame, and right above Mika's head says frame as well. Street Fighter V actually has it built into the training system so that you can see how much frame advantage you have. For a while, I've been vague about this Ryu jumping heavy kick and how much frame advantage I have. But thanks to this, we can actually see exactly how much frame advantage Ryu actually has. If I perform a jumping heavy kick, I land and the numbers go away very quickly. And this is a big weakness of this training mode. I wish the max number would show up and stay on the screen for a little bit. But if I can catch this right. So you saw a +9 up there. I saw a +12 up there now. Yeah, so I've gotten about a +12 you've seen here. Now I see a +11. I hope you guys can see that. Right before I pause, the number shows up in blue with a plus in front of it. So you saw right there a plus 11. That is what that means, is that I have 11 frames. I have 1/6 of a second in which I can move before the opponent can. Again, that sounds like it's not that big of an advantage at all, but in fighting games, it is a big example. It'll be easier to see depending on the moves. So for example, Ryu has a move that's plus on block in his standing medium punch. If I do standing medium punch, now you'll actually see the +1 is staying on the screen. So you can see that means that if I make the opponent block this attack, I have a 1 frame advantage. Now I have a +1 frame advantage, time advantage, 1 frame in time that I can move before the opponent does. Again, it's crazy because that sounds like nothing. But in fighting games, +1 can be significant. And in fact, one of the moves that you will always see Armikas use, and particularly why this move is very dangerous, is Armika has the ability, if she hits heavy kick and holds heavy kick, she squats down and dashes and jumps at you with the drop kick. So this move has amazing range. It attacks from really far away. And if you notice, when Ryu blocks this move, it says -2 up on his screen. And it says +2 on Armika's side now. This means whenever you block this move, that means Armika has 2 frames in which she can move before you can. And again, that is a significant amount. And that's why whenever you see Armika get this on top players, a lot of the times the top players will use their defensive option from block stun, known as the V reversal, and they'll actually just try to get out of that situation. And so that is an example right there of moves that are plus on block. So now the third example that I had on that spreadsheet was just getting knocked down by the opponent. So if I sweep Armika with my crouching heavy kick and she lies on the floor over here, I can do whatever the heck I want. I can jump, I can dash, dash, dash. I can do this, dash around, make sure you get pressured by a projectile, a fireball when you get up. I can dash, jump, and then throw you. I can do all sorts of things here. So this is why this is one of the ultimate examples of frame advantage, because after you are knocked down, you are at my mercy because you're stuck on the ground. You have to get up, and I can do whatever I want. In many fighting games, there are ways to get up the floor quicker. So if I sweep Mika, she can actually pop back up right away. This is known as a quick rise. This happens a lot in different fighting games. Again, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus has this. Tekken 7 has this on certain knockdowns. Even with that, however, if I dash, I spent a bunch of time dashing. Now look up at that frame counter above again. I can sweep Armika, dash, and it still said +3. And if I time it perfectly, I'm at +4. So after I forward dash in the situation, even after she gets up as quickly as possible, I still have 4 frames of time in which I can move before the opponent. And with Armika being +2 on that dropkick, having access to amazing mix-ups, you can imagine what being +4 is like. And of course, different characters can take advantage of different frame advantages in many different ways. And in fact, in some characters, +1 isn't enough for them. Being +2 is necessary for them to actually have any sort of mix-up on that. But again, we'll get to that in a future episode where I actually talk about frame data. And again, I don't want to confuse you guys too much with the numbers. Again, the +4 doesn't matter. Just understand that after sweep into forward dash, Ryu will be at a frame advantage. He has the ability to move before the opponent does. If Armika ends up whiffing an attack, so if Armika's sitting here and she tries to hit you with something like so and whiffs, you can even see on her side of the screen, the game even counts the negative frames and how long it's going to be before she recovers. When she starts, you see it's -25 at the start, like so. And that means it's going to take exactly 25 frames for her standing heavy punch to go from start, animate, and all the way finish back to the point where she's at a neutral state. So this is 25 frames worth of animation here for our Mika. And so if I swing this and whiff, even the game tells you, look, you're at frame advantage here, frame disadvantage. The game is literally showing you how much frame disadvantage you are at every single frame of animation of Mika standing heavy punch. And I do have the lockdown by assist. I don't really have a good way to show you that right now because this game doesn't have assist. But one of the reasons why I have our Mika here is she kind of has an assist. One of her V-triggers calls her buddy Nadeshko to come and attack you. And so if I set Ryu to block everything, and then once again, if I make our Mika call out her friend Nadeshko, and you can see as Ryu blocks Nadeshko, he's stuck in block stun, and Mika has the ability to run around and do whatever she wants. So I can charge up this drop kick and force you to block it, even though the charge takes a little bit amount of time. If I've got you forced into blocking Nadeshko, that gives me a free opportunity to get the drop kick in, and now I have the drop kick mix-ups. I may not even need that. I can just dash up and then go for a throw instead because you're blocking Nadeshko. That's an example right there of having to deal with an assist. Like I said, that applies mostly to BB Tag, to Dragon Ball FighterZ, to the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Those are games that you're going to see that have assists where you can get locked down by the assist. And then the last example is just getting caught off guard. So, for example, I already told you that Mika's drop kick is a very scary button. This button right here is a very scary button. But, however, if I expect this move, the startup is enough of a giveaway that if I know it's coming, I can actually punch it out of the air if my timing is good. So this is really cool. So, okay, so now what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna wait for our Mika to start her dropkick animation, and then I'm going to punch it out of the air just like that. The problem is, if you're expecting one of those things, and not expecting something else, if our Mika decides to throw in another option and forward dash instead, so I can punch this out of the air like so. Now if I'm just waiting for this all day, and she dashes forward, I'm like, wait, where did that come from? And then I'm gonna get jabbed. So even though on her dash, she's negative, I'm waiting so much for the drop kick to show up from our Mika that by the time I see her dash and my brain's already on hitting heavy punch, I'm gonna try to hit heavy punch, but she's dashed in and I'm caught off guard. I have no way to watch for both of these options at the same time because as I'm expecting a drop kick, I'm not expecting the dash up forward into crouching light punch. And if you notice, when she does actually dash up forward, the frame display at the top does the exact same thing. The whole time she's dashing forward, you see nothing but red. You see nothing but red. When she dashes forward, she's actually in frame disadvantage. But because I'm just caught off guard with it, I'm virtually in a frame disadvantage situation. She virtually has the frame advantage because I'm just not ready for the forward dash. And that is a huge factor of Street Fighter and a lot of very fundamental footsie-based fighting games, is that even though jumping might not necessarily be the best idea, you can still get away with jumps and you can dash, and then or you can come in with these moves like Mika's dropkick, and really it's hard for an opponent to keep track of all those different options because there's a different way to counter each one of those. And again, that drop kick and the forward dash from our Mika, again, are examples of the forward movement options in the footsies triangle that we talked about. So again, if your opponent is sitting there trying to stop the drop kick, then you can forward movement and dash, and that gives you the way to get in. So there you go. That is some visual examples of frame advantage.